On 25th of May 2021, Roberto De Zerbi became the new Shakhtar Donetsk head coach. It felt like a huge step forward for the club, as at the time he was one of the most sought-after young European coaches. Under him, Shakhtar played very attractive and attacking football. However, he left the club due to the war starting on 24th of February 2022. Myself and a lot of Shakhtar fans often ponder, what if De Zerbi stayed and if he was given a few years to build his project? How would Shakhtar play? For this reason, I've always wanted to watch one of his teams play live.
And this is why I'm here today, at the famous start Vélodrome, to check out how Roberto De Zerbi is doing at Marseille, and to explore one of the best atmospheres in European football at Olympique Marseille.
Marseille has a perception of a crime-ridden city with aggressive football fans. This is perhaps fueled by many people of my generation growing up on Luc Besson's Taxi series, which takes place in Marseille. However, my experience with it is completely different. I found that it is a very friendly city with some of the most dedicated football fans in the world. I have to say that Marseille is also architecturally very beautiful. I mean, just look at some of the streets in the city centre here.
Marseille has a lot of influence from people of North African descent. There are lots of fantastic places to eat food from that part of the world in the city. It was my first time eating couscous and having a mint tea. I would highly recommend trying these delicacies to anyone who visits Marseille. I then started heading to the stadium. Interestingly, there is a shopping center right outside the stadium. It has a pretty genius strategic positioning, as on match days, a lot of fans gather here to get some food and drinks. When I approached the stadium from a distance, I couldn't help but think that it looks like Shakhtar's home stadium, the Donbass Arena. Both stadiums look like a blue UFO has just landed in the middle of the city. It filled me with nostalgia, and I hope one day we will play at our stunning ground again. 3.5 hours before the game, there was already a huge queue to enter the club shop. I've never seen such a popular club shop. People waited 15 minutes in the pouring rain just to enter this shop. However, seeing so many people wear club merchandise on match days all over the city, I could understand the shop's popularity. I went in there to buy a club badge, and they did have a really good selection. I opted for the classic logo badge here. Something I have not seen any other club do are these chains. They do look very cool, and I would love to see Shakhtar sell something similar. Would you buy a chain with your club's logo? Let me know in the comments. The moment you enter the stadium, you instantly understand which team plays here. There's even a monument celebrating the club's most famous win, the 1993 Champions League title. The selection of food was quite limited, but I loved these potatoes with pulled pork. They were tasty and filling. However, I found the €10 price for a cup of beer to be absolutely shocking. It is the most expensive beer I have ever seen at a football stadium. People of Marseille are very friendly, and the stadium was no exception. A big thank you to the steward who personally took me to my seat. This has never happened to me before at any stadium. The Vélodrome has an instantly recognizable roof, a really cool and distinctive design. For some reason, one of the stands where ultras normally sit was completely empty. I have no idea what there is, and it was very unusual to see. But the ultras nonetheless made themselves heard. The second the away team, Lens, came onto the pitch, I have heard the loudest whistling and noise I have ever heard.
If you enjoy this story and want to see more vlogs like this, as well as Shakhtar Donetsk content, please like this video and subscribe to my channel.
The ultras already started chanting and bouncing a whole hour before the game. I thought that the ultras starting to sing 15 minutes before the match at Borussia Dortmund was very impressive. But Olympique Marseille was just on another level. Huge credit to Lens ultras. They looked fantastic and even managed to smuggle in some pyro for a great show before the game.
The game was massively important for both teams. Points for Lens were essential to stay in the title race, while for Marseille, a win would have meant they were back in challenging for the title.
The teams then came onto the pitch. It was still surreal to see De Zerbi as a coach of another top club.
It was now time for the Ultras to show why they're the most passionate fans in the world. First, Marseille Ultras made this stunning Tifo of a fan. But this wasn't all. I will just leave you to watch the next 60 seconds without my voice.
I was completely blown away by this. It was no surprise to me that Marseille started the game in a very aggressive and attacking fashion. I cannot imagine anything more inspirational for the players than this. Unusually for himself, De Zerbi remained calm on the touchline. And this is what De Zerbi's football is like. Very high pressing out of possession, leaving goalkeeper with no choice but to kick it long. Then followed by an interception in the midfield and going on attack with a few quick passes. The same stunning football that my team used to play under him. In possession, it is a lot of one-touch passing, trying to pass around the opponent, bypass the midfield and quickly go on to the attack. Not just keeping the ball and doing nothing with it. It is probably the most aesthetically pleasing brand of football, even if it doesn't always bring results. Very deservedly, Marseille opened the score on the 3rd minute. It looked like it could be a very long night for Lens. They had to have a quick team huddle to stop an absolute collapse after the second goal. It is incredibly difficult to play in such an intimidating atmosphere. I can understand why Shakhtar's team collapsed here in 2024. Our players are not used to this amount of noise due to the spectator restrictions in the Ukrainian league, and also the poor attendance in the European games. Lens couldn't create much in the first half, and Olympique Marseille went into halftime as very well-deserved leaders. The second half went in the same fashion, and Amin Gouiri's double sealed the win for Marseille. Lens scored on 85th minute, but it was too little too late. The fans sent off their team with a beautiful scarf performance.
I did not have any high expectations of this trip at all. However, I visited a city that is historically beautiful and has some of the most friendly people I've ever met. Very grateful to Marseille. Thank you for having me, and I wish your city and your club all the best in the future.